Well, Dragon Ball Daima episode 18 was the big one. We've been talking about it now for a very, very long time. This was the episode that everyone's going to be talking about with the return of Super Saiyan 4. We're going to go into a bunch of that here on this breakdown. I'm going to give you a ton of information about why the form is being brought in now, what the decision was behind the scenes, and how we actually got to the form being used and why it's not going to be used beyond Daima, or at least not yet, because there's things that are going on that may affect the future. All that and more on this breakdown video. Make sure you watch it all the way to the end. But before we begin, you can be the first to get your hands on exclusive Super Saiyan 4 merchandise right now. A lot of people's favorite form returned in Dragon Ball Daima with Toriyama's touch. Super Saiyan 4 is back, and we got a brand new merch line, just like the Gohan merch from a couple of years ago, Then Now Forever, except here it's Then Now Forever. Comes in multiple sizes and multiple colors and ships almost anywhere in the world. Get yours today. These are just dropping hot today. Brand new, limited edition. The link is in the description. Do not miss out on getting your hands on the Then Now Forever merch line, courtesy of the store. The episode was called Awakening, and it started with Goku tapping into Super Saiyan 3 for the first time in Dragon Ball Daima. At this point in the timeline, because it's shortly after the Majin Buu saga, this is his strongest form, and he actually starts to do pretty well against Gomah in the very early parts of this fight. Gomah actually feels pain here, albeit briefly. Now, Gomah doesn't know anything about Saiyans, so like everybody else in the Demon Realm, he sees Super Saiyan 3 and assumes that it's just some kind of magic, when you know that it's not. We know that it's not. But the Demon Realm's concept of ki and energy is, I guess, similar but different than what would be called magic. We're going to talk a lot more about magic in this video when we get to Super Saiyan 4, because I want to explain to you in detail like exactly what's going on here. And I will get there shortly on this video. Stay tuned. Super Saiyan 3 Goku fires a number of ki blasts on Gomah, and for just a split second, Gomah's freaking out because Goku has gotten that much stronger. But the third eye is there to protect him and to really give him the edge more than anybody could have ever imagined. I had been talking for a long time about the power of the third eye and how it's in many ways OP, right? Well, hell, here it is. It's actually more OP than even I thought. This sequence right here where we have Gomah fighting Goku is such a well animated and exciting freaking fight. I mean, it's great. This fight right here, this part of the fight really brings back those warm memories of watching Dragon Ball Z as a kid and just getting into anime, seeing these awesome ki blasts and physical attacks and just them going back and forth. Like, this is really the classic style of DBZ that I think a lot of us fell in love with back when we were kids. And like I've been saying, Daima is borrowing things from Dragon Ball Z GT, we know that now, and Super and Heroes. So it is a 40th anniversary series in that they're celebrating everything. We then have a sequence where Majin Duo and Tamagami 1 step up against Gomah. This is all beautifully animated, tremendous sequence here. This episode needs to be watched multiple times to really appreciate the hard work that the animators put into it. I mean, the detail is stunning, and it felt, like I said, like classic Dragon Ball. Majin Ku gives Majin Duo a giant chocolate chip cookie, and that powers him up. Majin Duo is then able to mimic Goku's Super Saiyan 3 power, including the hair. This image was sent to me at one time, and the person who sent it assumed that Majin Do absorbed Vegeta, or they used the fusion bugs. But that's not the case. The power of chocolate seems to actually make Majin Duo stronger, and while I'm not sure if he's exactly Super Saiyan 3 level, he's definitely trying to mimic Goku, and he definitely got a power-up. Majin Duo has been the one character in Dragon Ball Daima that I've been most surprised at, because he first comes in sort of comedic, a parody of the original Buu, not really super strong, but has proven time and time again he's got something in there. He's got some fire inside of him. This combined Majin Duo Goku Super Saiyan 3 is a team up I never knew that I wanted. Again, man, Majin Duo keeps surprising me. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the sequence too. So Majin Duo wraps himself around Gomah here, and that was fun. And that allows Goku to deliver a direct punch right to Gomah's face. And then Majin Duo starts swinging Gomah around, smashing him into rocks. Dude, if Majin Duo were properly trained, this guy could be a serious force. This whole thing just looked incredible. I mean, it's just, oh man, what more can be said? The work that they put into this, and remember, unlike Dragon Ball Super, which only had about 2 or 3 months of prep time, Daima had 2 years. So whenever a Dragon Ball product is given time, well, not just Dragon Ball, any anime product is given time to be worked on, it always comes out better than the average show. Look how fast Majin Duo is right here, man. He is a menace. I've seen some people say that they think that Majin Duo was inspired by Neko Majin's Super Majin transformation from Toriyama's Neko Majin Z manga. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's a one-shot manga Toriyama produced many years ago that is not part of the Dragon Ball continuity, but it does have cameos from Dragon Ball characters like Vegeta and others. And it's a lot of fun to read if you're a Dragon Ball fan. Check out my video on Neko Majin to learn more. Unfortunately, the power of the cookie was only temporary and it wore off. That was cool though while it lasted. Tamagami 1 and Goku start to work Gomah over. Another cool team up I never thought I'd want to see. But these guys, I mean, they really are getting the upper hand. But then guess what? The evil eye kicks in. The third eye of the demon realm. And yeah, ouch. This power of the third eye is beyond anything we've seen up until this point in the timeline. I'm not going to say it's greater than a Whis or like a Beerus or anything like that, but this power certainly puts Gomah far above all the different versions of Majin Buu, because all he has to do is power it up and it will protect him. It's just high levels of magic power. Gomah's third eye was harnessed like a laser, and he starts to fire this crazy laser everywhere and just smash up everything. This is the strongest attack we've seen in Dragon Ball Daima up until this point. Gomah ends up smashing Super Saiyan 3 Goku. There's nothing he can do at this point. Gomah prepares the finishing blow by creating this giant energy ball composed of magical dark energy that is sure to finish off Goku and anybody else in his trajectory. This is obviously very similar to other massive ki blasts that we've seen in Dragon Ball, including of course Frieza, who's probably the most famous character in the series to have these gigantic, spherical energy blasts. Then what happens must be seen to be believed, but I will break it down for you and explain exactly what happened in this episode. So, the oldest and, in this case, most powerful as far as magic goes, Namekian in history, Neba, appears before Goku and puts his hand out. Now, in the past, we've seen Neba unlock the power of Tamagami 2. We saw this in Dragon Ball Daima episode 12 when Tamagami 2 was fighting Vegeta. But at the time, I assumed it was because he created the Tamagamis and thus he was able to power them up. But no, apparently Neba has such a strong magic presence, is such an incredible magician that he can unlock and unleash powers from beings besides just the Tamagamis. But that's not exactly what happened here. I'm going to break down exactly how Goku got this new Super Saiyan 4. The Namekian Neba infuses Goku with a strange blue aura, and it appears like Goku has vanished into some other realm. That's not really what's going on, but it's done for artistic purposes. What's really going on is that Neba is able to use his magic power to infuse Goku and Goku's cellular structure with so much magic power that it taps into his primal nature. This sequence right here that you see with these lines, this represents Goku's Saiyan DNA. What's happening here is that Neba's magic is able to trigger a mutation in Goku's Saiyan DNA to bring him back to his original state. Now, this might sound very similar to the Great Ape form, but it's not, because we're talking about actual demonic magic. The Great Ape form, and obviously Golden Great Ape and the original Super Saiyan 4 from Dragon Ball GT, those forms were activated by high amounts of Blutz waves or Brutes waves, depending on what translation you're referring to. So these Brutes waves reflect from the sun. It's a different type of energy. So because Saiyans are biologically different from any of the beings in the demon realm, this triggers a mutation. It wasn't like Neba knew exactly what would happen, but using that demonic magic that he seems to have incredible prowess in, he's able to allow Goku to revert back to what he's supposed to be. Remember, Goku was born with a tail as a Saiyan, and the tail was removed by Kami sometime in original Dragon Ball before the 23rd tournament when Goku was up there training with him. It's pretty ironic and interesting that because of, those events, Goku doesn't have a tail, but now, thanks to Neba, Goku regrew his tail. So a Namekian took the tail away, and another Namekian gave it back to him. So the dark magic mixed with Goku's biology is what has tapped into this new Super Saiyan 4. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time explaining the original Super Saiyan 4. I do have a transformation guide that goes into all the details, but I want to say this. The original Super Saiyan 4 was designed back in 1995/early 1996 by Katsuyoshi Nakatsuru, who was the main supervisor for Dragon Ball GT and has returned for Dragon Ball Daima. So this form was not originally designed by Toriyama. However, this new version, this new Super Saiyan 4, had fingerprints of both Nakatsuru and Toriyama. So let's get into some behind the scenes tidbits about Dragon Ball Daima and this form. This form is one of the main reasons as to why Dragon Ball Daima exists and why it takes place in this part of the timeline, and why it was separate from Dragon Ball Super and didn't take place after. What's going on here is Akio Ioku, the executive producer of Dragon Ball, has done an incredible amount of market research for the past few years and has been the one to give Toriyama ideas for him to write. For example, the appearance of future Trunks and his return in Dragon Ball Super was Akio pitching that idea to Toriyama. Same thing with Evil Goku. In Dragon Ball Super Broly, it was Akio that did the research and discovered that Broly was a very popular character all over the world. So what they do? They took something that Toriyama did not create, Broly, of course, being made by Takao Koyama, and Toriyama repurposed it for Dragon Ball Super Broly. I don't like to use the word canonized because Dragon Ball Z Broly is not the same as Dragon Ball Super Broly. They behave differently. They may resemble each other to a degree, but they're not the same Broly. This Super Saiyan 4 is the same idea. Notice that this design for Super Saiyan 4 not only resembles Super Saiyan 4 from GT, which was also not a Toriyama idea. That version was created by Nakatsuru. No, this also resembles the Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 from Dragon Ball Heroes. Dragon Ball Heroes was decommissioned last year to make room for Dragon Ball Daima. Toriyama was rewriting a lot of the Demon Realm lore and a lot of the backstory of the multiverse, and for him to take Super Saiyan 4 and remake it the way he's done, they had to make some changes. So the bottom line is, fans have always loved Super Saiyan 4, and now it's back. Now, internally, according to the documents that are at Toei Animation, this form is called Super Saiyan 4, just like the one in GT was. However, there's a possibility that that name may change. And I say that because oftentimes you have placeholder names. For example, Gohan Beast in the original internal documents for Dragon Ball Super Superhero was referred to as Final Gohan. This could be a thing where, even though it's not called Super Saiyan 4 in the show, the original intent was for it to be Super Saiyan 4. Goku himself isn't even sure what happened to him. Now, this entire thing was not only meant to model itself after GT and Heroes, but also Journey to the West. This form resembles Sun Wukong more than any other Super Saiyan form in Dragon Ball, with the exception of maybe the Golden Great Ape, but even that isn't quite how Wukong is depicted. If we rewind to earlier in the episode when Neba is on top of Goku about to give him that magic, this right here was straight up taken from a Journey to the West live action film where Buddha gives Tripitaka energy to defeat Sun Wukong. Because remember, Sun Wukong for Journey to the West is sometimes the villain in the story. It depends on what part we're talking about. But basically, that's where this is coming from. Now, that Journey to the West film, Toriyama did artwork for it many years ago. So this is a straight up tribute to that film and to the original story that inspired Dragon Ball, Saiyuki. If you want to learn more about Journey to the West, check out the playlist on my channel called Dragon Ball and Saiyuki, where Jordan and I go into all of the different references to Journey to the West in Dragon Ball, and there's a lot more than just Goku. It's really all over the series. I became aware of Super Saiyan 4 coming into Dragon Ball Daima last year. Here is a screenshot of me talking to a friend about Super Saiyan 4 because I couldn't believe it. This was back in September, but I knew a little bit before then. Now, when it comes to this whole Super Saiyan 4 thing, I chose not to leak it. I chose not to reveal it because it's a very, very big show-ending transformation. And I decided to, even though I could have made videos on it and profited from it, I chose to keep it to myself. And there's more things that I also kept to myself that you will see in the next 2 weeks of Daima, because we got 2 episodes left and there's a lot still to come. But when it comes to this episode, man, did they do a lot here too. Now with this new power, Super Saiyan 4 Goku begins to manhandle Gomah. He throws him through several rocks, delivers some pretty big blows to Gomah, and comes in. Now notice, first of all, this Dragon Ball Z styled action is just great. But notice a lot of his movements. Pay close attention to the way that he moves. He's not moving like Goku normally would. Now here we have a big right hand to Gomah. But then the third eye activates and sends Goku away. If you notice, Goku moves a lot more like an ape. It's not just Goku the martial artist here. What we're seeing is Super Saiyan 4 is bringing out the primal inside animalistic tendencies of the Saiyans. This is actually similar to what Nakatsuru said about his original Super Saiyan 4 design, that it was like this. Here we have Goku using his tail, which is useful, and just pummeling Gomah with big shots. What an incredibly well animated sequence this is. And Gomah's doing his best, man, with that third eye, but notice how Goku moves more like a monkey. Pay close attention to that, how Goku moves more like an animal on all fours. That's something to keep track of, because that tracks right along with how this form is, like, in many ways the opposite of Ultra Instinct. It's not necessarily letting your body move on its own. It's letting your own survival dictate how you win the fight. But even with this new Super Saiyan 4 power, Gomah's third eye is far and away more than anything that they could anticipate, power-wise. This is actually the moment right here I was referring to earlier where Goku behaves animalistically. It's a combination of him being really strong and being in control while also not being in control. There's another sequence of Goku and Gomah going at it, and others jump in to try to help, because clearly Goku on his own, even with the new form, isn't enough. And once again, the third eye bails Gomah out. I think a lot of people thought that when Goku got this new form, after hearing rumors about it, that he would just smash Gomah like how Gohan Beast smashed Cell Max. But no, this is not the same thing. The third eye is really strong compared to even this power. At this point, the battle continues, and Goku's using a combination of energy and physical attacks. Look at him just pummeling Gomah. I mean, he is smashing him, smashing this dude as best he can. There's a really awesome sequence in this episode where Gomah's colored blue and Goku's colored red, and it just looks really nice. It pops out. It was a unique artistic choice, but I like it. I think it looks great. And it's a good touch for this battle. Goku fires a massive ki blast and knocks Gomah away really, really far. Then he begins to tap into all that power and power up. This sequence looks incredible, and he looks even more like Wukong. Then Glorio begins to do the biggest power up we've ever seen him do in Daima. I mean, he's really pulling it together. And Piccolo is preparing the special beam cannon, aka the Makanko Sapo, to hit Gomah with. This causes a huge explosion and everyone goes flying. Then Goku prepares to fire his first, in Daima, Super Saiyan 4 Kamehameha. But before he can finish the Kamehameha, Gomah intercepts. I want to talk about this frame right here. I don't know if this was done on purpose as an Easter egg or as a reference, but this looks an awful lot like this. Does it not? Just a coincidence, or is there more? Let me know what you think. Also, this right here has to be one of my top 5 favorite frames in all of Dragon Ball. He punched him right in the eye. Why is it that every time that Gomah gets hit, he makes funny faces? It just adds to the entertainment value, but this one tops them all, in my opinion. Goku begins to charge up his Kamehameha in a ridiculously incredible looking sequence here. Gomah sees it. So Gomah flies in and intercepts Goku and punches Goku and stops him from finishing the move. I love the fact that they actually broke the trope. That trope where every time somebody powers up a move, the opponent just looks at them has been broken. He broke the rules of shonen anime, and I'm cool with it. So at this point, the show does an absolutely awesome redirect. We're meant to believe here that Gomah hurt Goku real bad, stopping him from doing the Kamehameha. But after being out for a second, he just gets right back up and continues to power up the move. This was so incredibly well done. Like, they made you think for just a second Goku might be in deeper trouble than he actually was, only for him to keep going. This Kamehameha was very special because it starts off as a traditional blue colored energy blast, But when Goku puts more of his power into it, there's a layer of flames that come out around it. We've never seen a Kamehameha like this ever. Now, people have already drawn conclusions or comparisons to Goku's Dragon Ball GT Kamehameha, known as the Kamehameha times 10. This is not quite the same thing because that Kamehameha was more of just a darker red colored, whereas this one actually looks like a combination of blue and red flames. Beautiful, man. While it really wasn't a times 10 Kamehameha, what it did pay tribute to in GT is the one scene where Goku does an upside down Kamehameha as he's floating down. This caused a massive explosion. Goku creates a giant crater, and at this point he believes the battle is over and that Gomah has been nuked. But it ain't gonna be that easy. The power of the third eye activates once again, and Gomah rises up. The incredible power of the third eye makes it one of the most dangerous artifacts outside of the Dragon Balls in the history of this entire franchise. Some have compared the third eye to the Time Breaker mask from Dragon Ball Heroes because that gave characters crazy power boosts like Bardock and characters like that wouldn't normally be strong without the power of the Time Breaker mask. There are some similarities here, but we haven't really seen an artifact like the Time Breaker mask in something outside of the video games, in like the manga or the anime or the movies. The third eye is our first look at what would happen if somebody really had an artifact this strong. Gomah rises out of the crater, giant size. This image right here says it all. This is the biggest and strongest Gomah has been up until this point. Gomah then does something I couldn't believe. He uses his powers to lift up Goku and actually deactivate his Super Saiyan 4. Not just that, he's able to revert Goku from Super Saiyan 4 all the way down to his base form. We have never seen a villain do anything like this, with the exception of Moro when he was able to turn off Goku and Vegeta's transformation abilities. Gomah is reversing the transformations. He's making Goku go backwards. Does this mean that the third eye is even more powerful than Neba's magic? Also, take note that Goku's clothes are back. When he went Super Saiyan 4, he had the fur around his body, but now his clothes are back to where they were before he transformed. This is even further evidence that Super Saiyan 4 in Daima is a purely magic-based transformation. This is why you're not seeing Super Saiyan 4 during the fight with Beerus or at any point in Dragon Ball Super. To our understanding, Super Saiyan 4 is magic with Saiyan biology, and because Goku does not understand Demon Realm magic, especially not the magic of somebody as strong as Neba, he can't tap into Super Saiyan 4 like he can the previous Super Saiyan forms, and that's why we don't see it after this, or at least we haven't seen it yet, because there's always a chance they can bring Super Saiyan 4 back in a future story, but it would probably depend on Goku learning magic and figuring out how to utilize it with his other powers. Then Dr. Arinsu orders Glorio to get the other Dragon Balls, combine it with hers, and make the wish to wish her to become the Grand Demon King and to have more power than Gomah to overthrow him and cement herself as the Queen of the Demon Realm. Then we find out from Arinsu that she had Glorio learn Namekian language, just in case, so that he can be the one to make the wish. So they didn't even need Neba to make the wish, because he knew Namekian the whole time, but he didn't tell anybody. This is because Glorio and Dr. Arinsu have been working together from the very beginning. However, based on context clues in this episode, Glorio is beginning to have a change of heart. Through the use of flashbacks, episode 18 shows us all the different moments Goku had with Glorio and Glorio with everybody else, and this is part of that bonding that happens when people meet Goku. How many times throughout history have people started off as Goku's enemy or in his opposition and wound up respecting him and becoming his friend? Glorio clearly sees that Goku and the others are struggling against Gomah. Does he really want to give Arinsu even more power? Glorio summons the demonic Dragon Ball's dragon, and we see it for the very first time in Daima, the original Porunga. This dragon predates the Namekian Porunga, but based on all of the information internally at Toei, this red Porunga is just called Porunga, just like the Namekian dragon. On the credits for Dragon Ball Daima, it calls him Demonic Porunga, but that's basically what we're seeing here. And this is probably the biggest dragon we've ever seen outside of course, the one in Super that was like space level. But besides him, this is a massive, massive dragon. If you remember my exclusive leak video from back in September 14th, 2024, I first revealed what this dragon would look like in that video. And now near the end, we finally see it. The new dragon that comes out of the Dragon Balls is going to look like Porunga, but he'll have the colors of the GT dragon at the beginning of the series, the Black Star Dragon, the red one with the yellow eyes. So imagine like a red Porunga. The others are starting to realize that he was working for Arinsu the whole time. Very heartbreaking. They didn't actually mention in this episode that he was the one that kept breaking the ship, and that's why the ship kept breaking down. He was the one that was purposely causing problems with it, but you can piece that together based on context clues. We then see the biggest disrespect we've seen in Dragon Ball in quite some time. Gomah, with the third eye, tries to attack the dragon, and the dragon flicks him away. Literally flicks him away. The final villain of this show has been flicked away by this Porunga. How powerful is this dragon? Let's not forget that even though the dragons are powerful in the sense of the wishes they can grant, they're not physically powerful. Demon King Piccolo killed the eternal dragon Shenron, aka Shenlong, in the Piccolo arc of Dragon Ball. This dragon, this demonic dragon, just humiliated the final boss of Daima. Dr. Arinsu tells Glorio the wish. However, it might not go her way, and I'll tell you why. The episode ends with the cliffhanger of us hearing Glorio say the wish in Namekian. However, I believe that Glorio has actually betrayed Arinsu, and that in the next episode, Goku and the others will go back to being adults again, and everything will be back to normal when it comes to their bodies. Glorio would have finally picked his side and gone with his new friends as opposed to Arinsu, who has very sinister and selfish motives. That's my prediction. I'm not saying for sure it's what's happening, but the next episode's called Betrayal. So they're going to have to do everything they can to stop Gomah now, because the battle is not over and we got 2 episodes left. I will be talking a lot more about Super Saiyan 4 in the coming weeks, because there's a ton of information that still has not been really thoroughly talked about. Stay tuned to the channel for that. If you like this breakdown, I've done breakdowns on every Dragon Ball Daima episode, so check out the playlist there. We go deep into things you may have missed and lore, and check out some of the other videos here on the channel. And if you're new, welcome to Geekdom 101. Hit the like, share this out. Catch you in the next one.